The device buzzed as it played the last recording. I am Kankruk Kahaprakt, interrogator and torturer. I am being hunted. It all started a year after we killed every human in the galaxy. The Commonwealth wanted to have the planet the humans called Shinsekai, but instead of just surrendering it outright, they gave proposals upon proposals from shared ownership to leasing. Of course, the enlightened general and his council wanted nothing short of total and complete control of the planet. After all, it's only a matter of time before those low-intelligence hairless apes discover the First One's artifact buried beneath the planet's surface. Who knows what incomprehensible technology it possesses? One thing led to another, and we ended up cracking every inhabited human planet, starting from their home world, Earth. Their pained cries and salty tears brought nothing but joy to my entire people, but little did I know that was only the first of the grave errors we made. We had successfully committed a genocide, a strictly human term, against humanity, or so we thought. Just a year after, a series of atrocious and gut-wrenching crimes started to be committed against my people. I will not go into the details, as I am sure the Galaxy Net is lit with reports about it. No. I am here to tell you what happened to Cash 4A after the suicide bomber blew himself up live on camera. I was one of the ones within that room when he performed the act. At first, he was very cooperative and divulged information without us even having to lay a hand on him. But then gradually we noticed he started getting unhinged, and he would often end his sentences with laughter. At first I thought my communicator was broken, but the confused reaction from my fellow interrogators told me that was not the case. He would eventually stand up and lift the ragged shirt he was wearing, revealing numerous red stitch marks, with some even having exposed wires sticking out of his skin. The last thing I remembered was him shouting, "Earth endures," before I was knocked unconscious. I was standing the furthest back at that time, as I was posted right beside the door, which is most likely how I had managed to survive. When I woke up, the interrogation room had been absolutely obliterated. My left claw was mangled by countless metal shrapnel, no doubt from the explosives sewn inside that human. It seemed like I had instinctively used it as a shield to cover my vital parts. Thankfully, my body immediately restricted the blood flow to my left claw, preventing me from bleeding to death while I was unconscious. I used my right claw to cut the useless limb off and stood up. That'll take months to regenerate, but I still get paid while recovering anyway, so I can't really complain. Unfortunately, based on the splattered Falam body parts surrounding me, it appears that none of the other interrogators survived. Only a dark red stain remained at the location where the human once stood. I tried to take a step forward, but the sharp jolt of pain that almost made me pass out again informed me that my right leg had also taken a fair bit of shrapnel itself, though it was still relatively intact, unlike the state which my left claw was in. So I shuffled instead, using my left leg to bear my weight, and my right claw on the hallway's walls as support. The hallway, which had now gone pitch black. "Help!" I chittered, calling out to anyone nearby. There should have been guards posted right outside the door, but I would assume they kept a fair distance from it after the explosion. Still, doctrine dictates they should be nearby. "I'm wounded! I need help!" My pained body must have interfered with my reasoning, as I failed to immediately recognize the concerning fact that the hallways were pitch black. I should have realized it at that time, but I was too distracted with my own circumstances to pay any more thought to my surroundings. I reached an intersection and stopped, peeking both sides to see if anyone might be posted there. It would not surprise me to see barricaded hallways with guards aimed at anyone emerging from the room that had just exploded, so I cautiously let my right claw out and spoke. "Don't shoot! It's me, Kangrak!" My chitters echoed in the eerily silent hallways. "Is anyone there? I need medical assistance!" Silence. I heard the sound of a creaking metal, but it was so far away that it might as well just be a whisper, and the only reason I even heard of it was the complete and utter silence surrounding me. That should have been the time I realized something was wrong, but I instead pressed forward. I followed the source of the sound, which should have been towards the direction of the control room, shifting and shambling across the hallways, littered with some kind of green fluid. There was a faint, almost imperceptible thud behind me, but when I turned around, it was just the empty, vaguely visible hallway I had gone through. I called out anyway, just in case someone might have been there, but just as earlier, all I received back was the echo. I thought my mind must have been playing tricks on me due to my desperation, so I continued forward, noting to myself to also get assessed for mental stability. Another dark intersection stood in my way. The way forward should have led to the maintenance room, while the left hallway descends down to the ground floor. What caught my attention, however, was the rightmost hallway. About 30 to 40 meters ahead, I could see the unmistakable glow of the ceiling light right on another intersection. It was faint and flickering, but something about illumination called to me on an instinctual level. Without even giving it any further thought, I had found myself heading straight for it. The closer I got to it, the more defined the buzzing and flickering sound became. This was it, I thought. Surely there is at least someone here to assist me. I stepped into the light, but none greeted me. It was like an island amidst an ocean of endless darkness. Yet again, the pitch black stretched in every direction. That was when a metallic clang echoed along the hallway from ahead of me. "Hello?" I called out, making sure my mandibles produced a loud enough sound this time. The hallway was ridiculously dark, so it was difficult seeing anything in detail, especially further away. But the Phalan compound eyes had always excelled in sensing motion, due to the evolutionary pressures my ancestors faced. A faint dark silhouette moved at the other end of the hallway. I immediately rushed towards the movement, almost tripping multiple times as I could no longer contain my desperation. Rhythmic bolts of pain shot up from my right leg as I could not help also using it to assist in my haste. Darkness swallowed me as I plunged into it, my vision tunneling straight towards the source of the movement. "Help me!" I begged, while doing my best possible recreation of a sprint using a leg and a half. "I am injured!" Metal clanged once more, this time louder. The sound propagated from within the right bend of the freeway junction. This had only caused me to grow bolder. However, nothing could have prepared me for what I had seen upon reaching my destination. It was the briefing room, but all the usual equipment had been removed. In hindsight, I should have paid more attention to the hallway I was rushing in, as I failed to register the thick and viscous green fluid that almost flooded it, skid marks leading towards the very room I was staring at in horror. Numerous slender ropes dangled from the ceiling of the briefing room, each one ending with mutilated body parts of Phalans. I could not contain my horror and screamed in shock. Heads, thoraxes, claws, legs, abdomens. My thoughts immediately went back to the human terrorists and their barbaric displays of violence. I heard a silent, raspy sound behind me, inches away from the back of my head. My translator chirped as it interpreted the sound that I had thought was just a random gust of air. Hi. English. Human language. Without a second thought, I bolted back towards the light I came from. I didn't care if my right leg was getting more and more injured as I unconsciously sprinted with it. Before long, I finally reached the light. I mustered up all my courage to look back, but the darkness of the hallway and my panic dulled my vision and prevented me from seeing anything. I could, however, hear the slow-paced tapping on the floor, as if this creature was in no rush at all and is taking its sweet time getting to me. Sparing no more time, I sprinted once more, retracing my steps that I had previously gone on, when my body finally gave up on me. The injuries in my right leg finally caught up, causing me to plunge towards the floor and crash onto a wall. I looked behind me and desperately tried to sense movement, but there doesn't seem to be any. I struggled to stand up and skip my way towards the previous intersection. My mind was racing, and the panic had fully set in, scrambling my thoughts and forcing me to forget where the exit was. It was at that time I saw a glimpse of hope. Right in front of me, which was where the path to the ground floor was, stood a lone figure in the middle of the dark hallway. Even with its back towards me, I instantly recognized it as a fellow Phalan. "You! Help me!" I quickly made my way towards the Phalan. However, it did something that would forever haunt my thoughts. We Phalans are a chitinous species. Layers of hard armor-like exoskeleton protect our soft tissues and organs, as opposed to skeletons inside the body. This is exceptionally good in terms of defenses, however it is not without its limitations. As a result of covering up the joints, our range of motion is slightly limited, especially compared to vertebrates. This is more so obvious in our head, that only has a 60 degrees range of motion in front of us due to our dense neck plates, forcing us to move our entire body if we need to turn more. However, this Phalan whose back is turned on me rotated its head around 160 degrees to look at me. His dull white eyes stared at me, then slowly moved his body to face me. His movement was uncanny. Something about the motions it did screamed to my very instincts that this was not a Phalan. It was something that looked like a Phalan. I was about to talk to it when it raised its claw up into the air and bent it into angles and positions a Phalan's claw should never even come close to, as it attempted to reach something on its back. It was then that thousands of years of survival instincts came rushing towards me and urged me to flee. As if the voices of my ancestors were telling me that whatever that thing was, it was not a Phalan. I made a sharp turn and headed inside the maintenance room. It was dark, darker than even the hallways, but I desperately tried to fumble my way around, looking for a hiding spot. I tripped on something wet and slimy, which was then followed by an audible crunch. I knew exactly what it was, but I ignored it. My claws grabbed a hold of the handle of a metallic locker. I carefully opened it so it wouldn't make a sound, then went inside and shut myself in. That was when a deliberate sound that seemed like a human's voice echoed in the silent maintenance room. My translator came back to life as it translated the words. "Ring around the rosie." A locker was violently opened up, followed by steps. "Pocket full of posies." Another locker was yanked open, alarmingly close this time. "Ashes. Ashes." Unlike the previous two, the door to the locker I was hiding in slowly creaked open. The metal grating sound filled the tiny chamber I was in as my body froze up in terror, helplessly awaiting my fate. It stopped opening a quarter ways out, which only amplified my panic. And then, slowly, a Phalan antenna peeked out from the left side of the barely open locker door. It was so slow that it felt like ages, but then the rest of the figure emerged. The dull white eyes that drooped down from the eye stalks, followed by the mandibles that were left unnaturally agape. And then it stopped. I sat there, in utter silence, staring at the lifeless face of a Phalan corpse silently peeking at me. And then it slowly receded, disappearing from my sight. I do not remember for how long I remained inside the locker, just waiting for the killing blow, but eventually I managed to calm myself enough to muster my courage and step out. Everything was eerily silent. Not even the ambient noise remained, which made it even worse. I made my way to the ground floor, but quickly found out all the exits had been barricaded shut. I peeked through the tiny gaps in the barricades, and was absolutely shocked by the scene. The entire city was burning. Hi. Shivers went down my spine as I once again heard the familiar sound. I turned towards the source and saw the figure of a Phalan obscured by the shadows. I did not even think twice as I sprinted up again, heading for the control room. That should be the hardest to break into, as it was the center of operations. It was already open, but it did not bother me, as I knew how to turn it into an absolute fortress. I threw myself inside as I swiped my claw onto a sensor. Lockdown procedures! Without missing a second, the open door that I had just jumped in from closed shut, followed by a metal wall descending from above in front of it. Which is where I am right now. I am recording this as documentation. I don't know how long I will be stuck here. It's possible that I'd sooner start before rescue would come. But I want to tell everyone that... Cancrack's barely lit face froze in terror as he stared at something from behind the recorder's camera. Yeah, you're here! His chittering was trembling and incomprehensible. You've been here all this time? While I was recording? Slowly paced taps sounded from the floor. No, please, don't! They all fall down. The recorder buzzed as it fell to the floor, spinning around to reveal the rest of the room. An open ceiling vent could be seen in the background, behind a forlorn figure standing above Cancrack's unmoving body. The figure bent down and picked up the recorder. A close-up of the figure revealed two mammalian eyes inside the wide, open, lifeless mandibles. Earth endures. The figure speaks in human language as the recording stops.